Hi, I'm not waving the white towel, I'm getting ready to stain. This video is for the staining part of your cornhole before we even get it onto the laser engraver. Like you can see here, we stained it. This one is aged gray, I believe is the color. And then we were able to put the logo on. Before we put your logo on, we're gonna stain them first. I went ahead and did one ahead of time. So we stained the parts separately. This is the base that we put together in a different video. And this is the cover that we actually did the hole cutting in a different video. Now we're ready to put these together, okay? One of the steps that I didn't worry about too much is because it's on the inside, is I didn't sand this off, but that's okay. And in this one, for purposes of just showing you the video, we do still have the label on the outside, something that we will fix when we do our final piece, but this is just for the example of the video. We want to get our pieces to look like this. This is the stain I picked. I believe the color was light walnut is what I grabbed. So in our stain room, which is behind me in the corner, we have all these different colors that you can use. The one I picked was the light walnut. Some are in these small containers, some are in bigger containers. If they're in bigger containers, you see myself or Mr. Harris for help, and we'll get you enough stuff that you need. This is plenty here for a lot of people. So what do? Well, normally we're gonna be at a staining table, but for the lighting here, this works really well. So we have our table covered with some sort of protection so we don't ruin the table. What I also have here are rags that we're gonna use for staining, old t-shirts that were cut up, so you can see the history of Mr. Harris and myself through our t-shirts, and then gloves, so it doesn't look like you got mud or something on your hands, okay? Always be careful with your clothing when you're doing this stuff. That's why when I show you today, I'm gonna do it in a very simple way. One that doesn't include making a big mess. So first thing I'm gonna do, slip my gloves on. They are gonna be a little tight on me, but they will fit your hands perfectly fine. You don't have bare paws for hands, where mine are already ripping, okay? So I'll put this on. The other thing I did too, when I went to make this video, is I decided to grab medium gloves instead of large gloves. So I put myself at even more of a disadvantage. But again, I just want to show you, just get the gloves on to protect your hands a little more so they don't get too dirty, mostly the fingertips. Okay, when you get your stain, you're gonna need to shake it up. So we're gonna shake this up pretty good. You always make sure the cover's on, obviously, like we talk about in your trainings. Okay, these nice little covers come with a little popper, little washer or washer that you put in here, and you just kind of work your way around the side until it opens. Once it's open, we're gonna put our little cover, again, where it's not gonna get anything on the table. And I'm gonna use a little rag. So the little rag I have here, I'm just going to dip into the stain. Now, when you're doing staining, the less you have, the better it looks, so less is more. So I'm gonna start with the base here, or our cover. I'm gonna start rubbing on the stain, and the one thing I hope you notice is that I'm trying to do it in an even fashion so we don't have a big blob somewhere, okay? I don't need a heavy coat, just a light coat on here. And every once in a while, I'll dip back into my container and just rub it along the wood so that it's all even. And we're actually gonna end up doing this to the front and the back so that it looks good on both ends. If you flipped it upside down, pull out the bags or whatever, it's gonna look good to you. So as you can see, it's turning out pretty nice. Little dab, not a ton. It can go a long way. And the other thing I hope you're noticing, I'm going with the grain. You can actually see the grain in the wood where I'm going through it. I'll put a little dab on. I'm also gonna get the edges. Okay. The edges around here. Get the edge of my hole. Make sure my hole is all properly colored. Worst thing is you do a whole section of it and then you miss one little part like that and you look at it for the rest of your life that you have and you go, oh, could have done that better. So now that I got that, I'm gonna flip it over. And the nice thing is too, before we assemble everything, I know I flipped it over, I said the one side's the top. Heck, I might do an even better job on this end, and I'll decide later I want to make this the top. And that's why everything being symmetrical works out really nice for us. Okay, I got some blotches here, so I'm trying to rub those in. And you don't have to be in a rush. Take your time. But of course, for the video, I don't want this to be a 35-minute video of you watching me stain it. But it will be a 35-minute video you're gonna have to watch of watching it dry. So we're gonna have a video of watching it dry over time lapse. But the time lapse will be about a 35-minute video. So just be ready for that one. It takes a while to watch. And that's a little bit of sarcasm, so hopefully you caught on to that. Okay, now it doesn't dry immediately. You're gonna have to place it somewhere. We'll tell you where to place them so you can let them dry at least overnight so we can start on the next day of class after you do staining. Now the bases, same thing. It's a thicker wood, so you may need to use a little bit more. But like I said, even if we know we're gonna be covering this, we might as well hit it so just in case everything looks good. So I'm just putting a little more thickness on here, but it does rub in same. Just gonna do a little bit more in here just to kind of show you. We don't want to have a ton on there because there's no reason we want to have the color look different from the base. Now if you look at that as it dries, it'll dry nice and even. We'll get all the parts equally. And when I'm done, I'll have 2 sets that are all stained. They'll all look really nice and they'll be ready for the final gluing assembly once we're all completed with the laser engraving on here and all that stuff too. So if you have any questions while you're staining, please see Mr. Harris or myself so we can help you with it. The most important thing through this entire process, don't get too messy. A little bit, as you see here as I'm talking, a little bit at a time is all you need. We don't need to be making a big mess, and you also don't need a 4-gallon or 3-gallon jug in front of you. Just a little bit to put it on as you go. And that's all we have for you. We'll see you next time.